Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London, looking at a book from HART Publishing in Oxford which has come to us about the legal profession. And I saw the book and thought this really does look interesting, because the future of the legal profession is something that has been talked about for actually some decades now. Certainly my part of the profession, the bar, has undergone massive change as we look to the way we teach the subject and the way we actually do our jobs. So what they've produced, it's a book edited by a number of people. They produced this book called The Futures of Legal Education and the Legal Profession. So it's the two futures, the education and the profession itself. It's been edited by a number of people. Hilary Sommerlad, Sonia Harris-Short, Stephen Vaughan and Richard Young. Now my wife Elizabeth and I looked at this book and we had a talk about it. We came up with a title, Far-Reaching and Diverse Statements on Legal Education for the 21st Century Lawyer. Now, that's what you've got at the front, which looks like a very dry and arid floodplain. It's all I can say. There's the front, there's the spine, then there's the back. It's got a lot of detail. It explains who these people are, where they've come from Birmingham, University of Birmingham. It's a paperback. It runs to 200 odd pages. There's a detailed index. Then you've got a number of chapters. You do have footnotes at the bottom, so there's a lot of detail. Let me just go to the front. This is a statement about what this book is about, witnessing the unprecedented changes that are taking place. There's the front cover, as the legal profession is basically transformed. I found William Twining's foreword. He will be known to many of you for jurisprudence. I found his statement in the foreword extremely helpful, because obviously there are changes, there's some acknowledgements. Then there are a table of contents. You've got 10 chapters there. You see they are written by various people whose names are mentioned. I can't go through all of them. You've got the list of contributors, of which again there are a very large number. There's a second set there, and then you've got the book itself, the first chapter by the main authors, the main editors, setting out why they've produced this book. And again, you can see a lot of detail. This is an erudite book. It's got a lot of detail. There's a very useful point on judicial diversity and the new judge. Always a question in the exams, actually, about the judiciary. So again, if you're doing your exams, you might like to refer to this book, because it's always that extra bit of research that you do, especially if you're doing undergraduate level examinations. If you've got that extra bit of research, it'll make you stand out from the crowd, and that may give you extra marks. We would hope so. Get you that first, which is the important thing to do. It's certainly books like this and reference material at a high level that will assist. This is what we say about the book. I've found it very helpful, and it's one of a number, by the way, on the market at the moment, about where we're going with the profession. As I sort of get old and retire gracefully and the younger people come up, we see very substantial changes taking place. It's the future that we're looking at, and making sure that we maintain our standards but at the same time do our business in the best way. And this is really what they're addressing. So this is what we say. This excellent collection of contributions about the current state of the legal profession, the reshaping of services and the way we train lawyers and judges for the 21st century is an essential read for any professional associated with legal services. That includes not just barristers and solicitors in the judiciary, which make up the profession as the main bulk of it, but all the advisors and all of the other people, the paralegals and everybody involved, because today a lot of it, certainly the lower level of the work, is tending to be a given to not necessarily fully qualified people, but certainly people with partial qualifications at the lower level. It makes sense, it saves money as well, but obviously when you have the major disputes, you're going to need the fully qualified people to take over and ensure that the pleadings are done properly and all the relevant rules are adhered to. Like all other areas of work then, the legal profession faces at the moment a serious crossroads in the way we educate, train and perform our legal functions in the future. This is one of many books, as I said, which have appeared in the last 18 months to cover the new landscape we face, and it's one of the best, I think, for its clarity and far-reaching insights into how we're going to go about approaching all aspects of legal matters in the future with the massive IT changes we face and the serious lack of training places that we have probably for the next 5 years. Step in HART Publishing and producing this excellent book which tries to get a balance as to where we're going. And as I've said, if you are seeking a training contract and you are getting right towards the end of all your academic stuff, you do need to have some clear idea of where you're going and what the future holds for you. There are lots of books on the future of the law, tomorrow's law, whatever it might be. This book, I think, tries to give you some assistance. The 4 editors then, that's Hilary Sommerlad, Sonia Harris-Short, Stephen Vaughan and Richard Young, have brought together an array of high-level contributors for each of the chapters to help explain how the new legal education agenda is being set, and the observations given, I think, are most helpful. The lawyers are witnessing an unprecedented transformation both within the profession itself and within legal education. So with, say, the Legal Services Act 2007, then LASPO, the Legal Aid Sentencing and Punishment of Offenders Act 2012, now in force, and the full effects of legal aid are being felt. Both statutes have, quote, enabled and necessitated dramatic structural changes to the profession, as well as impacting on its ethos and ethicality. Now, that is quite a substantial statement because obviously LAPSO specifically has had a very big effect. We will see. I'm recording this just before the general election, so we will see what happens in 2015. But there's a lot at stake at the moment, and I think quite a lot of further change is inevitable. So what I say, in addition to that, it's also inevitable that the price being paid is a high one for the professionals as we reconsider how to go about our business in a changed working climate. And the Legal Education and Training Review, that's the LETR, which is referred to throughout the book, promises a dramatic change to the provision of legal education, reflecting the shifting landscape of both the legal professional market and its service providers, and for higher education, of course, as well, of which this is, and I include professional training in that too. What the contributors call these transformative changes will bring both exciting opportunities and challenges with which everyone involved in the law process is, from law lecturers to senior partners in leading law firms, and not forgetting the judiciary, which covered in chapter 5, which I showed you earlier, and family law provisions, which is also in chapter 4. They've got to grapple with this. Now, the family law provisions are also looked at. Again, this is more of an overview because in my practice, for instance, at the coalface, you can see some of the big effects are taking place at the moment. And we've got to start thinking about what the longer term implications of that will be. So I should think that this is one of a number of books which will lead to further commentaries in due course. What I would say is that this excellent edited collection on the futures of legal education and legal profession contains a selection of the papers which were presented at the second conference of the CEP-LER, CEPLA. That's Birmingham Law School's Centre for Professional Legal Education and Research, and I hope they don't mind me calling it that for brevity reasons. The stated aim of the conference, which has been followed up with this collection of essays, has brought together leading academic scholars, senior figures from the professional practice area, policymakers and representatives of the regulatory authorities, very important, to reflect on the key issues arising from this transformative moment, and they give us a blueprint for the way forward. At least that's what we hope it will be. But you never can tell. I can think of last 4 decades, what has been happening with legal profession issues, and it makes me wonder sometimes whether in fact the blueprint we started off with is what we actually end up with. It does seem to me sometimes to be rather different. This collection of essays, however, covers diverse ground from curriculum development to professional theory, enriched and enhanced, of course, by the range of backgrounds and perspectives of its contributors. All the usual suspects, including CPD, are there, although there is no detailed mention of pupillage, very emotive area, but an interesting review, of course, of the content of the law degree itself and whether that's going to change. when I did the law degree, which is longer ago than I care to remember, Roman law was very much to the fore. It didn't really there at all now, which gives you an idea. We didn't even have EU law, or EC law, or EEC law for that matter. It didn't really exist. So you see how much change there has been since the creation of the Crown Court in the early 70s and all the way through. And a very big changes since that time which have taken effect. I think the final word comes from the editors, who write that this book forms part of a conversation that needs to take place between the state, the legal profession, legal educators, law students, users of legal services, and all those who care about the future of democracy and the rule of law. Final word would be that all the eminent contributors have succeeded, in my view, with their aim of explaining the new agenda. So in our view to you would be, do read the book, because its contents and comments will affect you. And I've found it interesting. Not a difficult book to read. It's not a big book either. It's 200 pages. But what you've got in it, I mean, just looking at more flexible education and training, for instance, there, you've got the footnotes. So you've got a lot of justification, which you have to have for any statements you make. You've also, as I say, I like the judicial diversity point, because that is a big area, and it's a popular area with examiners. Delivering family justice, another big area, and you've got some important points that come out of that. That particular point, it's again the progress of delivery of what are new ways of doing things, professionalism, enterprise, and the marketplace. Again, I think it's very much a book for the year 2015. It's looking, I think, very practically at where we are, and it's a great additional contribution to the continuing debate. Thank you very much to all concerned. This is not going to go away, this subject, so be prepared for more books of this sort, and do read them, because it's your profession. Thank you very much to all concerned. Bye-bye.